Fundamentals of blockchain security. Blockchain technology has exploded in recent years, transforming industries like finance, supply chain, healthcare, and even cybersecurity itself. But with all its promises of decentralized trust and transparency, there's a real question no one is asking enough. Is blockchain really secure? Now, if you've ever wondered how blockchain technology maintains its security, or how attacks like the infamous 51% attack can disrupt even the most robust blockchain networks, then this video is for you. Today, we're looking into the fundamentals of blockchain security, breaking it all down in simple, digestible terms. We'll cover the core principles of blockchain security, common vulnerabilities and attack vectors, as well as how you can safeguard against these threats. Whether you're an entrepreneur thinking of integrating blockchain into your business, or just someone curious about how secure your favorite cryptocurrency is, this video will help you understand the fundamentals of this risk management system. On that note, let's get to it. Great to have you guys back on this channel. I'm your host, Michael, and if this channel has given you value, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button before you go. Today, we're tackling a topic that is not only timely, but also critical for anyone involved in blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, or even cybersecurity in general. But before we jump straight into security, let's quickly revisit what blockchain actually is. Blockchain is a distributed ledger technology that allows data to be stored across multiple computers or nodes in a decentralized manner. Okay? Each block contains a list of transactions, and these blocks are chained together to form a sequence. So let me break it down for you in simple terms. Imagine a notebook where every page represents a block. Okay? Each time someone writes a transaction on that page, it's saved and locked up. Now, instead of that notebook being stored in one place, copies of it are spread out across thousands of computers or nodes. When a new page gets filled up, it links up with the previous one, creating a chain of pages, which is why we call it blockchain. Every transaction is visible and verified by everyone, so no one can go back and change it without everyone noticing. But what makes blockchain special? First is decentralization. In traditional systems, all data is stored in one central server, like how a bank keeps all your account info in one place. Cool. But with blockchain, the data is spread across a whole network of computers, so there is no single point of control. Next is the immutability factor. Once something gets written into the blockchain, it's logged in. You can't go back and erase it or change it. Imagine writing something in a permanent ink. Is there for good? Yes. This is why blockchain ensures that data remains untouched and even trustworthy. And finally, transparency. So in a blockchain network, everyone can see what's going on. Every transaction is visible to all participants, so nothing is hidden. It's like a public ledger that anyone in the network can check out. Keep everything open and even accountable. Now that we have the basics covered, let's move on to blockchain security. Now, blockchain security revolves around the idea of cryptographic security, consensus mechanisms, and decentralized architecture. But don't worry, I'm not going to overwhelm you with technical jargon. Let's break it down piece by piece. Let's start with cryptography, which I like to call the backbone of blockchain security. Cryptography is at the heart of blockchain security. Every transaction that happens on the blockchain is secured through something called cryptography algorithms that ensure data integrity, confidentiality, and authenticity. Okay? Now, there are some key cryptography principles that are used in blockchain security. One of them is hashing. All right? Think of hashing like turning a piece of data into a unique fixed size string of characters, kind of like a fingerprint for that data. Now, every block in a blockchain contains a hash of the previous block, which links them together. If someone tries to mess with that data in one block, even by just a little bit, it changes the hash entirely. So everyone knows something is up. That makes tampering practically impossible. Okay. Another one is digital signatures. This is like a digital version of signing a contract. It uses something called public and private keys. We will get to this in a moment, okay? Now think of the private key as your secret password and the public key as your username. Only you can use the private key to sign a transaction, but anyone with your public key can check to make sure if it was really you who signed it. Everyone in the blockchain system has two keys. The public key is like your address, all right? People use it to send things to you. The private key is like your password. If you lose it, you lose access to everything associated with it. That is why keeping your private key secure is a top priority. Now that we know what cryptography is about, the next big pillar of blockchain security we'll be discussing is the consensus mechanism, all right? The thing is, blockchain operates without a central authority. So it relies on consensus mechanisms to validate transactions and maintain the integrity of that network. The two most popular consensus mechanisms are number one, proof of work, and number two, proof of stake. I believe we all know Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Both of these use proof of work consensus mechanism. Typically, proof of work requires miners to solve complex mathematical puzzles to validate transactions. Once that puzzle is solved, a new block is added to the chain and the miner is then rewarded. Although it is quite secure, it is also energy intensive. On the other hand, we have proof of stake. In proof of stake, validators are choosing to validate transactions based on the amount of cryptocurrency they hold or stake in the network. POS is considered more energy efficient compared to POW, and it's increasingly being adopted by newer blockchain networks like Cardano and Ethereum 2.0. So, while proof of work and proof of stake are the most popular, there are other consensus mechanisms like delegated proof of stake, Byzantine fault tolerance, popularly called BFT. Okay? Now, basically, what these mechanisms do is help prevent fraudulent transactions and ensure that the network reaches consensus even in the absence of a central authority. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, the blockchain decentralized nature makes it inherently more secure than traditional centralized system. Typically, in a centralized system, if a hacker gains access to the central server, they can manipulate the entire network. But in a blockchain, however, there is no single point of failure because the data is spread across multiple nodes. Even if a few nodes are compromised, the network remains secure. There's also something called a distributed ledger in blockchain. Yes, distributed ledger. What this means is that every participant in the blockchain network has a copy of the ledger, which means changes cannot be made to the blockchain without the agreement of a majority of nodes. Now that we've covered the basics, let's talk about vulnerabilities that can threaten blockchain networks. While blockchain technology is secure by design, it is not invincible. Take, for instance, the 51% attack. A 51% attack is what happens when a group of miners or validators gain control of more than 50% of a network's mining or validation power. This automatically allows them to double spend coins, prevent new transactions from being confirmed, and even reverse transactions. This may be extremely difficult to pull off, especially in large networks like Bitcoin, okay? But it is not impossible, all right? Now, talking about pulling off the impossible, a famous example is the 2016 Ethereum Classic 51% attack. A group of attackers managed to gain control of over 51% of the network hash rate. Think about it. These guys took over the majority of the network's decision-making power. They rewrote the blockchain and executed a double spend attack, which allowed them to reverse transactions and steal millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. But here is what you need to know. Pulling off a 51% attack, especially in a massive network like Bitcoin, is near impossible because of the scale. Yes, but Ethereum Classic was a smaller network, and that's why these attackers saw an opportunity and then they exploited it. Now, they didn't need to break the entire blockchain. They just needed to take control for long enough to manipulate the ledger and then walk away with millions of dollars. The attack didn't destroy Ethereum Classic, but it was a major wake-up call. It showed the world that even decentralized, tamper-proof systems are vulnerable if the right conditions are met. Just as I often say, security is never absolute, and even the best systems can have weak spots. Another vulnerability worthy of note is smart contract vulnerabilities. Now, smart contracts are these beautiful self-executing pieces of code. They're like digital contracts where the terms are automatically enforced, all right? Sound great, right? No middleman, no delays, just clean automated agreement. And this is big but, okay? When you have code running the show, you also open the door to serious risk. DAO hack of 2016 is the perfect example of what happens when things go wrong. So here's the story. That is the decentralized autonomous organization, okay? It was an ambitious project on the Ethereum network. It was supposed to be this decentralized investment fund where decisions were made by code, not people. But there was a tiny flaw in the code, a vulnerability in one of the smart contracts. And let me tell you, in the world of blockchain, one small vulnerability is all it takes for everything to unravel. A hacker or a group of hackers found this flaw and they exploited it hard. They drained $50 million worth of Ether from DAO funds. Just like that. This wasn't a small heist. This was one of the biggest thefts in crypto history at the time. Here is where things get even crazier. The Ethereum community had to decide, do we reverse the hack and return the stolen funds, or do we leave the blockchain untouched because code is law? This debate led to a hard fork where the network split into two: Ethereum, the one we know today, and Ethereum Classic. One network reversed the hack and the other kept the original blockchain as is, hack and all. The DAO hack wasn't just a robbery, it was a wake-up call for the entire crypto space. It showed the world that while smart contracts are powerful, they are only as secure as the code that runs them. And when millions of dollars are on the line, even the smallest vulnerability can lead to massive consequences. Okay? So let's keep the momentum going and talk about another sneaky vulnerability in blockchain security: phishing attacks. From all that we've said so far, we understand that blockchain technology itself is solid. It's built like a fortress. But even the strongest fortress has weak points. And in this case, the weak point is human error. Because phishing attacks don't target the blockchain itself, they target you. They are like the digital version of con artists, and they prey on the human side of security. Imagine getting an email or a message that looks very legit. It's from your crypto wallet service or your favorite exchange. Everything looks perfect. Logos, professional wording, maybe even some urgent messaging to get you to act quickly. But the second you click that link and enter your private key or login credentials, boom! You've just handed over the keys to your kingdom. The keys to the kingdom, you've given it over. And once hackers have those keys, it's game over. They will drain your account faster than you can say blockchain. Yes, these attacks have hit some major cryptocurrency exchanges and wallets, and millions have been lost to phishing scams because people didn't realize that they were being tricked. Look, blockchain can be as secure as Fort Knox, but humans are the weakest link. These phishing attacks often impersonate legitimate services and they create urgency, hoping that you will panic and click before you think twice. The best defense is to double check everything. Don't click on links from suspicious emails that you do not really recognize. Always verify the source and never, I mean never, ever share your private key. Once it's out there, it's gone. Now, I know we've spoken about phishing a lot in the past, but if people are still falling for it, maybe we need to talk about it some more. Or what do you guys think? What do you think? So, While blockchain cryptography is top-notch, the biggest vulnerability is still the person behind the keyboard. You understand? Hackers don't need to break into blockchain when they can trick you. They can just trick you into opening the door for them. Okay? What do you have to do? Stay sharp. Now let's keep rolling and talk about another major threat. That is Sybil attacks. Now this one is interesting because it's less about cracking encryption or pulling off some complex hack. Instead, it's all about manipulating the system by overwhelming it with fake identities. I like to relate it to the stuffing of a ballot box in an election with a bunch of fake votes. Although it doesn't seem like much, it's sneaky enough to mess things up big time. In a Sybil attack, a malicious actor will create multiple fake identities or nodes within the blockchain network. Now, if they can create enough of these fake participants, they can gain disproportionate control over the network consensus process. And what did I say happens when one person controls too much of a decentralized system? They can disrupt the entire operation. They can manipulate transactions or even block other legitimate users from participating. Here is the part that you need to pay extra attention to. Sybil attacks are especially dangerous in smaller blockchain networks, the ones that don't have thousands of participants to balance things out. In these cases, it's a lot easier for bad actors to create enough fake identities to gain control. It's like showing up at a small town election with 1,000 fake votes. It's way easier to sway the outcome compared to a national election with millions of voters. You understand? And Sybil attacks are a big deal because they can wreak havoc on the consensus mechanism. The part of blockchain that makes sure everyone agrees of the ledger, that's the consensus mechanism, and without consensus, the whole network security falls apart. So, while larger networks like Bitcoin are pretty resilient to this type of attack because they have so many nodes, smaller or newer blockchain networks are much more vulnerable. Okay, so it's one of those cases where strength really does come in numbers. Now, bottom line is, the more legitimate nodes you have, the harder it is for someone to take over by creating fake ones. Okay, now let's talk about something that can't be stressed enough, and that is key management. I mentioned this earlier, but I will say it again. If you don't take anything else away from this video, take this with you. Your private key is like the master key to your entire blockchain world. If someone gets their hands on it, they are walking away with everything, no questions asked. So now that we've discussed the threat, let's dive into how you can protect yourself and the blockchain network against these attacks. Whether you're a user, developer, or entrepreneur, there are several best practices that you can follow to enhance blockchain security. Top of my list is using hardware wallets. If you're holding a cryptocurrency or you're interacting with blockchain networks, hardware wallets are one of the safest ways to store your private keys. Unlike software wallets, hardware wallets are physical devices that store your private keys offline, making them less susceptible to hacks. The next thing to do is implement multi-signature wallets. What does that mean? Multi-signature or multi-sig wallet require multiple signatures from different users to authorize a transaction. It's similar to your two-factor authenticator, okay? This adds an additional layer of security and ensures that even if one private key is compromised, the hacker cannot make unauthorized transaction without the other signatures, okay? Then there is also auditing smart contracts. If you're developing on the blockchain, it's very important to have your smart contract regularly audited by professionals. This is because, like I mentioned before, vulnerabilities in smart contract can lead to catastrophic consequences, as we saw in the DAO attack. Then, you also need to stay updated on security protocols. The blockchain space is evolving rapidly, and so are the attack vectors. So, staying informed about the latest security development can save you a world of trouble. You also want to follow blockchain security experts on platforms like Twitter and Reddit, and participate in blockchain communities to stay ahead of emerging threats. Finally, there's the need for education and awareness. Yes, you must educate yourself about blockchain security. And if you're a business owner, educate your team. The only way to stay ahead of possible problems is to arm yourself with enough knowledge. All right? And there you have it, guys. We've covered everything from cryptography to consensus mechanisms to common vulnerabilities and best practices for safeguarding against attacks. Whether you're a user, developer, or business owner, understanding this risk and taking proactive measures isn't just important, it's absolutely non-negotiable. Okay? The blockchain network is only as strong as the effort we all put into securing it. Because let's be real, it's not just about the technology, it's about trust. It's about ensuring that everyone, from the largest corporations to the smallest users, is operating in a safe environment. Okay? So, if this video opened your eyes or gave you a new perspective, don't just sit on that knowledge. Like this video, please, and subscribe, and drop your questions in the comment section. Let's make this a conversation. Till I come your way again next time, keep learning and keep winning. See you again. Bye for now.